All right, I'd like to welcome everyone. Hard to believe, but we're already into November of our sesquicentennial year. Our History at Noon program marches on. This week we have, or this month, we have Deb Hunter from the Hawn Memorial Library. Before I turn the time over, I will introduce myself as Thomas LeClaire. I am the Town and Village of Clayton historian. And again, this is our sesquicentennial year. And if you can't say that word, just say it's the 150th anniversary of the village. This program is brought to you by the Thousand Islands Museum, the historians, the Sesquicentennial Historical Committee, and the Clayton Opera House. So we're thankful that you're here today. Again, Deb's going to be talking about the Hawn Memorial Library. Next month, we're going to be learning about the naming of the village streets. So if you're available next month, come out for that. So with that, Deb, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. This presentation is a story about community and visionary contributors to a legacy and asset that continues to be used by young and old and will continue over the years. In 1900, ladies gathered to explore the feasibility of establishing library services in the community. Clayton recognized a need and began exploring, this group is referred to as the Clayton Improvement Society, later referred to as the Clayton Civic Club. In 1904, rep from the New York State Department of Libraries was a guest at the Hubbard House. Capitalizing upon the opportunity, a meeting was arranged with 15 to 20 local women interviewed the official. As a result of this meeting, $200 was raised and the sum was matched by the state. And then as a town, it was organized as a town of Clayton Library under provisional charter dated, it was actually dated 6/27/1904. So for 50 years, the club went on to champion its mission and persevered. Shortly after, the group was assisted by a companion fundraising group, the Clayton Library Association. They had a $1 membership fee. And then recently, Friends of the Library was organized to assist with finances and operational needs. From the onset, Clayton Library has been a ladies' community effort. This gave cause to the birth of the Clayton Women's Civic Club. Their objective was to develop library service and eventually to build a permanent home. And I put up here the beginning first 5 trustees. Mrs. R.T. Grant, which was known as Glennie Skinner, served nearly 50 years from the inception. Dr. W.J. Ross, John O'Leary, F.D. Rogers, and Fannie Williams, who served almost 50 years of inception. The library was only tenant for 22 years in the Opera House Town Hall, which they were located on the second floor, which was the landing part, and probably housed pretty much where the elevator is now. It was a small part of the second floor. The town furnished the following in addition to free rent, heat, lights, power, water, sewer, janitorial services. The library services were voluntary. The community gathered a collection of books for the free use of every citizen of the town of Clayton. The Civic Club funded the local share of the cost for books and materials. An offer of a library building to the town of Clayton was made at the meeting of the Women's Club in November 1921. The proposition was made that the library would be given a suitable site and they would furnish it, and an appropriation was made by the town for its support. The club had started a fund for that purpose. The proposition was turned down. In 1926, the Civic Club purchased the former Exchange Bank building on Riverside Drive due to the need of readily accessible and larger quarters. We know this building to be the Eagle Shop. In the next few years, the Civic Club purchased from A.T. Barker Estate its last holding on John Street. And I have a copy of that deed. And what it says is from Laura Barker to Celinda B. Johnson, then to the Women's Civic Club, which I'm not sure if that's still a relation, why we still see it in all the history written as part of the Barker estate. Perhaps Celinda Johnson was a relative. That I didn't find out. Then in 1947, the Civic Club sold its building and stored the books in the Oddfellows Hall, known as KC Hall. Heard many things about the Hawn Civic Club. The club bought an 18-foot by 36-foot post-World War II Quonset hut and had it moved to its lot on John Street. Per agreement, the Civic Club was to maintain the building, paying for fuel, light, power, water, sewer, janitor service, building insurance, and repairs. The Library Association was to buy the furniture, books, insurance, and periodicals. It also paid the librarians' wages. In June 1951, the Civic Club deeded the John Street lot to the village of Clayton with the provision that it was to be used only as a site for a new library. I have a copy of that deed if anybody would like to look at that. August 1951, Mr. and Mrs. George Hawn announced that they would construct a new library. The public opening was Sunday, June 20th, 1952. A formal dedication was held on June 27th, and a reception sponsored by the Civic Club. At this time, Mr. and Mrs. Hawn donated the building to the village of Clayton. I have that paperwork also. New furniture was purchased by the Civic Club that came to $3,000. A new charter was requested with the village of Clayton as sponsor. I'm just going to add to this just a little bit. On December 12, 1959, there was an open house at the library marking their 8th anniversary of the trustees. They were appointed by the village board. Special tribute to Mr. Hawn for his special care of the lawn, which during the summer months was like a carpet of green velvet and it was beautifully landscaped with shrubs and plantings, of which Mr. Hawn had either done himself or hired it done. He cared enough about the building that he took care of the outside of it, which is cool. In 1977, a new wing was added with an open house on August 11, 1977 celebration. The top left picture is known as the children's room. Now, twice a week, there's story hour with many activities planned during that time. And the bottom right picture is referred to as the young adults room. This is a room that seems to keep evolving with activities. Just going to add to a little bit here. An article came out in the T.I. Sun on October 26, 1978, that stated local libraries have more than books. For drawing lessons, learning how to prepare your favorite clients, and so on. You can see the list. This is with many different libraries this was referring to this. I don't remember hearing about learning how to repair your favorite appliance. About 1978 that was. Then, the previous edition needed a new foundation. Had 5 roofs, most of them flat and leaking. And in addition, needed a new heating system with central air conditioning. So on to another capital project in the late 1990s. So with those repairs needed, they put an addition with full basement, created a handicap ramp, quiet room, break room storage, and area for nonfiction books. This is the basement now. It has a community, it's set up as a community room with several organizations meeting on a regular basis. Through the years, the women and men of the community and friends of the library have continued to help make Hawn Library to what it is now. With all these events, there was a fashion show way back in the 1920s, 1930s. There was a circus that was held, they had dances, and so on. Just so many events to raise money. In the spring of 2020, the library had to make changes in how we reach people. Story hour was held with different board members, our library director, Brooke Crowder, who was here today, doing them, recorded them, and had them live on Facebook or on the web page. Making craft kits that were put at the entrance, and it was advertised, so many people came to the foyer and were able to take craft kits. And there was a new way of taking books and returning books. Our library director, Brooke Harlow, took on the challenge and exceeded above needs. Very, very hard time for a library to stay open in a new way. Libraries always keep it adapting, and that's what they do. One of the new ways of changing things up, we have life jackets for all ages, including pets, that can be found at the library, which is something you wouldn't have thought of. And I've taken advantage of that. It was time grandchildren came and I didn't have life jackets. I knew they were there, so I was able to go and get them. Also started this past year with fishing rods. People can come and borrow them for a few days. Fishing nets and tackle boxes, which at one time they were all gone for one weekend, and they were brought back, and so it is being used. Yeah, a new idea that's going to be out there, I don't know how well it's out there yet, but baking pans with different shapes. I believe we have a duck there, and there's an angel, and I think the little girl was on the right-hand side, but it'll be on the web page and on Facebook. Come in and borrow a pan if you've got a children's event, adult event, whatever it might be, but you will be able to take a pan or bake what you need and then return it. In June this year, we started a small capital project for $60,000 to replace the last edition's roof, which was finished in 2002, and we need the soffit fascia and gutters to replace, and also to replace the original 14 windows that were put in 1952 that will help with energy efficient for our winter months. Right now, we're halfway to meeting our goal. please consider donating to Hawn Memorial Library. I wanted to add, sorry, I jumped back to contribute this. All the information I took was from an article that Hawn had actually done in 2000. It was referred to as library dates back to 1904 in Clayton. So almost all the words I use today was taken from this article. And also, Sue Grant did a timeline for a traveler's presentation in August of 2019, and I also used some of that information too, which was very helpful. Both of you up here, if you want to look at them afterwards, but Hawn Memorial Library story is far from finished. Thank you.
We do have so the Kwanzaa hut, do you know if it came from today Fort Drum, but maybe Camp Drum in your research?
It didn't say, but it did say where it went to.
Okay.
It did end up going to, somebody bought it in Fisher's Landing, the last name was Reed. And that's where, after were starting the building project, it was used by someone else. Anyone else?
So Deb, as a municipal library, it's a chartered village library?
It's a chartered municipal library, yes, and it's owned by the village.
So the structure is owned by the village, and it's primarily, the funding that comes to it is from the village, so like salaries and things like that, or is that a combination?
It's a combination of many things. I believe it's about 30% of budget, the village portion that they pay, and probably about 10% comes from the town. We get a little bit of money from the county, and then the school taxes. And we try and use grant, Northern New York Foundation, Community Foundation. It's been awesome through the years, especially those additions. They were right there, and we also are talking to them about the capital project we have now. But we're doing our own bookkeeping now too. I don't know if you knew that. We did it at first.
Now, when you say bookkeeping, is that keeping track of your books, or is that keeping track of your
That's okay. We're doing our own accounting, and we have our own bookkeeper now. The village did, for a lot of years up until 2020, took care of all our monies. Their accounting people took care of that, and now we do our own.
I just want to comment that I love the idea of lending other things besides books.
Yeah.
The fishing equipment, the life jackets,
Yeah.
the one-time use things that people either on vacation or they live here but would only need them occasionally.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
I've used the dog life jacket several times, when my daughter comes with her dog, it was great, and well, the dog worth the life jacket. No one then take it back, so.
Jim?
Do you need a library card to rent out that equipment?
Not always. We make several concessions for summer residents, whether it's checking out books or checking out a fishing pole. So we have ways that we can work around that for somebody who's just here for a week.
So you keep track of names?
I do, yep.
Yeah. It's amazing that all comes back.
You know what? We don't really have too many problems with that. It's really nice to see.
When I filled it out for my grand dog, borrowed that old doggy jacket, that many times she needed it, she's 15, so it might last forever. But it's that one-time use thing, but we filled out a card.
Yes.
And then I paid $20, filled out the card, and I'm assuming if I ever returned it, is that replacement value?
It's not replacement value, unfortunately. They're fairly expensive. We do usually take a $20 deposit
Right, that's why.
for one of those non-items that you just get back when you come back. But certainly if somebody comes in and they really are unable to even provide a $20 deposit, I would rather see them take it and use it. And maybe I don't get it back, maybe I do. But it's all of the fishing poles, nets, and tackle boxes were actually donated by Joe Chrisman, who's a local member of the community, and he is more than willing to donate more if I need them. So it was no cost out of pocket for those items for the library.
Plus, we get our money back.
Absolutely. Yes, they don't keep it.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
That you go back.
So it really is no cost.
That's very helpful.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just think it's neat that in our community, the Clayton holistic community, not just the village, that we have two very well-used functioning libraries. And you look around the North Country, and I think our libraries are functioning and are not in any type. I mean, there's always a financial need, but they're not in any financial stress. And you look at some of our neighbors up in St. Lawrence County and other libraries that are in really tough shape and have had to close. Ours, I would say ours are a true success story.
I'm just gonna add quick to that, because you're right on, because I was in the library Monday morning, Clayton Hawn Library. Kids were all around, and then I went to have to stop in the Topeka Library at the end of the day, and the volume of kids that were in there, it was wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, and one of the things that I didn't know about, and that was like Depauville has been the host of the summer meal program that is offered in the community, and to have that as a community center for that summer meal program is critical, because a lot of people don't know where there are needs, and you're not waiting in line at the soup kitchen, you're going to the library, which is not an embarrassment in any way. So I'm excited about our libraries.
Okay, with that, on behalf of the Historical Sesquicentennial Committee, we do have a certificate here to thank you for coming. I want to say that, I've been in the military, or I was in the military for a lot of years, and I came back. The libraries are always the center of the community. And I remember coming back, and it was the first year of pumpkin chunking, and I went to the library, and there was all the pumpkins and voting on them, and I know you've done that through the years. You've had jewelry sales. I know that I enjoy going to the library and just seeing, what am I going to learn today? And we definitely rent videos. But I do want to point out, I don't know if you had mentioned it, but this is the 70th year, so part of our Sesquicentennial year, we're honoring 70 years Hawn Memorial Library. So again, thank you.